Buonasera a tutti. Stasera abbiamo un ospite che non ha bisogno di presentazioni perché è un personaggio, è uno dei miei idoli della batteria. Stasera parliamo con Steve Gadd. Come sempre io vi auguro una buona visione. I sottotitoli verranno sicuramente poi generati. Comunque, dato che conoscete un pochettino come funziona, se masticate un po' di inglese, siamo già a cavallo. Quindi io vi auguro buona visione e godetevi lo spettacolo. Steve, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for your time. It is a pleasure for me.
You're welcome.
It is a very important pleasure for me because you are my drum hero when I was very young. So for me to talk with you, it is very important and it is a pleasure. So
Oh,
thank you, Steve, for your time and for your kindness.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Now, I want to ask you because my conversation begins with so many questions, but I will begin from the present. Now, Steve, what is your project in music? Have you concerts in this month, or you stay in relax now? What is your project now?
Now I'm home till the beginning of March,
Okay.
and then I go to New York, and and then I start working in March, and pretty much touring, and I'll be in and out for the rest of the year then with different projects. I'll go out with James Taylor. I'm doing. I go out with my own band,
Okay.
and I'm doing some recording with this Mika Stoltzman in March. So I get pretty busy.
Yes, it is very important because you are young. You are so very young at
Yeah,
your age. Yes, you are young, Steve. And yes, you are young. You are a young one. And Steve, I can hear the voice of your wife that suggests the tour manager of your dates.
yeah. You could hear her voice. Yeah, she's in the background here.
Okay. Thank you for Carol, your wife, because I send the emails. So I want to say thank you to your wife because it is very pleasant woman. So Steve, in
Hmm.
your past, I want to say this, and I don't want to repeat the same question about your career. I want to ask you when you was born in the 40s. What is
1945.
no, no, 1945? So at the end of the Second World War, I want to ask you, what is your first encounter with the music? Can you recall it? Your first encounter with the drums or with one song who said to you, I want to be a musician, professional musician.
No, I mean, my uncle played records for me. So the first music I started to listen to was John Philip Sousa marches. And that was the first music I heard. And I liked the feel of it, and I liked the drums in it, and I don't know that's the first music I heard.
And your first encounter with the drums, and your first encounter with the drums, at what age?
I used to live with my grandparents and uncle, and my uncle was a drummer.
Okay,
So he showed me when I was about 3 years old how to hold sticks and played music for me, and got me my first drum.
And your first drum,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
was very young, at the age of 6, 7 years old,
No,
or later.
no, I was when I was 3.
3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it is the best age to develop the technique and the study. And your studies, I know that you was in the army. Your experience in the army was too important to you for your job. Can you tell us about your experience in the USA army, like a drama?
Well, I was in the Army Field Band,
Okay.
so and it was like a Buddy Rich kind of band, you know. So I was sight reading every day. It was good. It was good fun. I met some nice guys and I played good music.
Because I see on YouTube there is a video of you 1970 with the big band of the USA Army.
Mm-hmm.
You was with the mustache,
Yeah,
only the mustache.
yeah. No, we couldn't have a beard, and
Ah, the beard later, because as I see in the 70s, you grow your beard.
right.
And I want to ask you, Steve, after the USA Army, your first professional work was with a notable composer, or in the underground with so many musicians not so famous? Your first engage with the music.
My, I don't. What do you mean? My first? I
Your
don't know.
first your first recording with an important composer.
My first recording was with Chuck Mangione and Gap
Okay.
Mangione.
Yes.
Diana in the Autumn Wind was the name of the album,
Okay.
and they grew up with Chuck and Gap, so it was a good experience for me.
Yes, I think that it was the 1972, 1973, and I think that the difference between now and the later days was so different. Can you tell us about the situation? Can you recall it, the feelings of your first work? Because I think that in the 70s, to go in the studio was very different by now. Now you can record in your house. In the 70s, you have to go in the studio. Can you tell us about the method of the musician to compose, as I think Paul Simon or Art Garfunkel? What is the method of this composer to bring the classic band inside the studio? Can you recall it? Maybe the method of composition in this thing. Can you read the music, or are free in the studio?
No, it was there was music, and there was also like collaboration in the studio. It's not just one thing. It's like there could be a lead sheet, or you could make your own notes. It depends. You have to have something to refer to, to make adjustments, to make notes. So either use what the artist brought in, or make your own lead sheet.
Okay.
So it's different for every situation. Some people come with more information. Some people come with not too much information. And it's about communicating and working together.
Communication, I think that it is the most important thing in every jobs, like like music and everything. But in this particular case, I don't want to be so easily, but it is my thing. When you play for the first time the drum groove of 50 ways for your lover, what is the classic idea of this groove? Can you
What
recall it?
what was the what? What year?
Was no, 1975. But I want to ask you, what is the idea back this most iconic groove of 50 ways of live your lover? Can you recall it? What is the idea, the classic idea? It begins with a march.
Right. It was just that part. The verse of the song was a little bit, the was not really feeling that good, and Phil and Paul wanted to try some different things, and I had been practicing like these little syncopated figures.
Mm.
And Phil heard me doing that and said, "Why don't you try and make that part of the groove?" So that's how that came about.
I think that this particular groove, it is a trademark of your drumming. And I want to ask you, the experience with Art Garfunkel, Fate
Uh-huh.
for Breakfast,
Huh?
can you recall it? Fate for Breakfast was the album of Art Garfunkel when you played.
All
Can
right.
you recall it? The session with Art Garfunkel?
I recall sessions with Art. I don't know. I don't remember which project was, back then. I don't remember the songs on the project,
Okay.
but I certainly remember working with Artie.
I think that in those days was very a busy time for you, because
Yeah.
if I find on Google, I see that so many albums of your collaboration with so many musicians, and your solo project with Steve Gadd Band. I think that Gadd About, the
Yep.
album of 1984.
Hmm.
If I can, okay, can you recall it? I think that 1984, your
Well,
experience
by what?
by leader, without a composer.
Well,
What is your
I wrote. Dave Matthews produced the album, and he and I wrote some things together. Um, that was my first album, and that's how it came about. You know what I mean? It was Dave produced it, and we collaborated on the songs, and then we did the album.
a great album in my point of view? A very great album, because in those days there was no CD, or maybe yes, but now I think that there is a reissue of this album, because it was so hard for me to find it in CD. I have on vinyl, Gadd About,
Uh-huh.
and I think that your works like a leader, I think that it is very different from your classic figure of sideman drummer. So I think that on YouTube I can find it so many videos of your project. The later project, it is very good. It is very, very good. And your relationship, Steve, with Italy. I know that you played so many times with Pino Daniele. Can you
Mm.
recall it, your experience with Pino Daniele, Steve?
Well, I love Pinot. It was fantastic, and I love Italy. Yeah, my wife and I, and one of my sons, when we were working with Pino, we lived in Italy for a few months. So we had an apartment in Formia. And
Formia,
yeah,
yes.
and we loved every minute of it. I'm talking to my wife now. What? So yeah, that was Pino was great, fantastic.
You played on the album Ferryboat.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Ferryboat, and the other one, I don't remember the name, but I think that the most important was Ferryboat. What about the Italian food, Steve? Do you like it, the
We
Italian
love
food?
we love Italian food. Yeah, I love
Spaghetti,
spaghetti, pizza, but we like all Italian food. We like the fish and the vegetables. It's all.
wine. Do you like it? The Italian
I
wine?
don't
No.
I don't drink wine. I don't drink anymore.
Ah, okay,
I
okay.
I used to like wine. I used to like it a lot.
You drink water now, only water
Yeah,
and coffee.
I drink sparkling water.
Sparkling water,
From
so very fresh one. And Steve, one of my question, because it is my favorite band, Steely Dan. Your experience with Steely Dan?
Well, my
Mm,
experience was I only recorded with that band. I never really I never toured with them.
yes.
So, but my experience was in the studio, and they were great guys to work with. I look back and I'm happy I was able to do those sessions.
And Donald Fagen was a precision man. Was very,
Very,
very
yeah, they very. He wanted things perfection.
perfect, perfection. Like like another one, and I think that your most important field was on the song Asia.
Uh-huh.
Asia for me, I was 12 years old, and the first time I've heard, for me, it was a shock. Because, in my point of view, my first encounter with the drums was with Ringo Starr. But later, when I studied with Alfredo Golino, and it was another drummer of Pino Daniele, and I heard Asia, wow, Steve, you was my hero. And it's important for me because your groove and your think about the music I've seen on YouTube in those days, in these days, sorry, an interview with um, Rick Beato, and you think and you talk about your career. When you the the most important thing that you I don't know the right words. When you talk about your experience like a drummer, when you talk about the groove, you think about it when you talk about the thing that when you play, you think about what you're playing, because there is a point in interview with Beato when you play with the double pedal. Okay, in this point of view, the double pedal in your career, you don't use any time your double pedal, or it is a new thing for you, because in the later days you don't use the double pedal.
Oh, in the early days,
Okay,
I didn't use the double pedal.
okay,
In the
okay.
early days.
Okay, in the later days,
In the later
eh,
days, when they started perfecting it, then I started to, you know, use it more.
okay.
And I use it now sometimes. I don't always use it, but there's situations where I use it and I like it.
Okay. because if you think about your drumming, the double pedal, it is very strange for your drumming. But I think that you use it to put your creativity at a classic level.
Yeah.
And another thing, Steve, when you played with Chick Corea,
Mhm.
your experience, because my favorite album with Chick Corea was Spain and France. The classic trio,
What was the first one? What?
Spain,
Oh, Spain.
Spain and France. I want to ask you the situation of three, like you, Chick Corea, and Eddie Gomez. This trio is not the same thing like the electric jazz. It is traditional. And your experience with Chick Corea, when did you meet Chick?
Well, I met Chick when he got off Art Blakey's band in the 60s
Okay.
with Chuck Mangione.
Okay. Okay.
So that was like, like 65, maybe 1965. I met him. And Chuck put a band together, and I had an opportunity to play with Chick and Chuck Mangione, and Joe Romano, and
Okay.
Frank Polero. So that was in the 60s.
Wow. Your career is so huge, and 30 minutes to talk with you is not enough. But I want to ask you, your method, Gaddimans, it is a collection of your exercise in your career. Can you tell us about the classic idea behind this book? What is the idea of this book? You want to
No, when COVID happened, and I was home for a long time,
okay.
I started practicing. I mean, normally if I'm working, I warm up before a show, but if you're out playing all the time, there's not a lot of time to practice. So the COVID gave me a lot of time, and I got into practicing, on a table. And it just, the more I did it, the more new kind of information came to me, and I wanted to share it. And I'm working on another one now. Some other stickings that I've discovered that I think are really interesting that I wanted to share with people. So I'll start working on that, and hopefully I'll have another book in another year. I hope.
And I think that the title of the book could be Gaddimans Part 2.
Maybe. Yeah, that could.
Maybe. Maybe, because if you think that now I'm searching this book, and I think that I will buy on Amazon, because in Italy there is so many problem to take this book.
Yeah. Why?
In the shop where I go in Italy, I can ask you, can you bring me Steve Gadd book? And they say to me, Matteo, there is a problem with the editor, and there is so many problem, and I can find it very difficult to find it. So I want to buy, but I don't know. Maybe on Amazon, I think that, and I
I,
want to buy
I
because
think.
now I want to study so much, because I don't play so many time on the drum set. I play on the table on the practice part. So I want to buy your method. It is
Yeah.
very difficult.
Maybe Amazon. Maybe Amazon can get it.
Maybe Amazon, because I think that it is very important to open your mind to another book. And
Oh,
Steve, now you relax and you stay at home? And can you return to Italy or not now with your new project? Can you come to Italy or not with your project?
Oh, we're working on it. You know, I love to come to Italy. So, you know, there's nothing definite, but we're talking about it.
Are you talking about? I want to ask you the last thing. Can you tell me a suggest to be a good drummer? I know that this kind of question so many times they ask you this thing, but can you tell me not the secret, but a good advice to become a good drummer and a good person? Because I think that you have to be so professional and so on. But can you tell us a good advice for young musician and for me?
Well, I think, I mean, you have to practice a lot. You know, you have to, you know, and then you have to show up on time and be respectful to people. You know, please and thank you. It's always a good thing. So it's just sort of common sense thing, man. You show up, you know, prepared, on time, with a good attitude, and put all your effort into trying to communicate and get the music to where it feels the best for the artist.
Yes. And I want to say this. Before the streaming, I was talking with my wife and I said to her, maybe I can show to Mr. Gadd my with drumstick, but I don't want to show you because it is very difficult to
Well,
play on the table.
oh, it's okay. Show me.
Wait a minute, I will take the drumstick.
All right.
Okay. Let me put it down. Can you see it?
I can, well, even down further. Okay. Nice.
No, thank you. Say by you, it is a very important compliment for me. Now I have to restudy because maybe 1, 2, 3 years that I don't practice so
Or
much.
you have to
Now,
practice more.
I have to practice more because I think that I restudy stick control. Thank you for your time, Steve. It is a pleasure and thank you for advice.
Oh, you're welcome.
Nice from Steve Gadd. For me, it is very important. Thank
Thank
you for your time. Saluto tutti. Grazie di tutto. Ciao Steve.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye bye.